black men. And I think someone said to me once, well, black officers in law enforcement should know better because they're trained. This is not something they should do. But something that goes overlooked, I believe, in the community. We don't talk enough about when black men are killing other black men. Where's the protest for that? Where's the Black Lives Matter
Is that the white man's fault?
I agree. Excellent question. Let's deal with this. Black on black crime. Couple facts right from the gate. Let's deal with those police officers.
Okay.
Some people would say you cannot blame white folks for this because black men did it. But they did it in the name of white supremacy. Yes. It's not the individual's right to choose. It's the institution that dictates behavior. Why does a black teacher in the public school send your child to special ed when nothing was wrong with them? Are white folks off the hook? Because it was white folks who created the culture. It was white folks who created the system. It was white folks who created the atmosphere. So the black cop that shoots a black man is carrying out the orders of the white power structure. Deal with the institution, not the individuals. Now, black on black crime, a big problem. We should be protesting that. That is a major contradiction in the black struggle. However, we must clarify a few things. Most black on black crime, as someone who works in the prisons, okay, works with black males, most of it is politically and economically generated. Let's go back 80 years. Who was the gangsters? Italians, Irish, Jews. Right here in South Philly, they was gang banging, killing each other. Meyer Lansky wasn't an African. Bugsy Siegel wasn't an African. Lucky Luciano wasn't an African. Al Capone wasn't an African. They did the same thing our boys are doing. You know what the difference is? The United States government in 1940 decided to make Irish and Italians white folks. Before 1940, they were not white folks. And then guess what they did after they made them white? And guess what they did after they made them white? Well, you had other immigrants, but they were still whites because they were Anglo-Saxons. What they did was they gave the Irish the police departments. They gave the Italians the fire departments, and they used the civil service center city job, city hall, that they still control to this day. And the courts, they gave them an economic stimulus package. You want to stop black on black crime? You can cut at least 40% of it out overnight. Give these brothers who are fighting and killing each other over turf territory and drugs a livable wage job with benefits so they can raise their children. Whenever we have conversations on black crime, why we never hear anything about economic opportunity? They never talk economics when they talk black men. It's all about we gotta create more prisons, and maybe we're not tough enough on crime, or maybe they need some help, maybe they need some therapy. We don't give a about no band-aids. We want a solution, and the solution is economic empowerment. What's the first job of a man? To protect and provide. The protect part, we can do better on that, but some of us can do that. But to be able to provide, that's where black men are hurting, because a lot of us are not given that opportunity to provide for our families. That creates the stress that indirectly leads to them. Let me give you an example. He's in a Chinese store tonight. I just got fired from my job. I just got fired after 30 years. They laid me off. I walk into the Chinese store. He look at me the wrong way. What the F you looking at? Guess what? He ain't got a job looking for one. He mad at the same thing I'm mad at. 3 babies, 3 child supports, whatever the case is. We get into a fight, I kill him. The headlines will say another black man murdered a black man in South Philly in the Chinese store, probably fighting over a blunt. They don't know the real reason we got into that scuffle is because both of us are suffering the same oppression, economic castration.
Yes. Well, how do we make it better though? Because
I'll tell you how you make it better. Problems don't change just because the time is rolling, brother.
No, you're right. But I'm seeing homes in this area that I can't even afford.
Oh.
And I see that
black bourgeoisie has aided the Caucasian in removing blacks out of all the major inner cities in America. It ain't just Philly. They doing it in Harlem, D.C. You can go to certain cities now. They even starting to work on Atlanta, believe it or not, Black Chocolate City. Okay, it was D.C., now it's Atlanta. But this was a national movement. Guess when they decided to do it? Y2K. It was in the year 2000 that they decided that they was going to go back to the inner cities and take them back. And why did they want to come back to the inner cities in the first place? They never wanted to leave. Why did white folks run away from the inner city? Because after the Dr. King era, integration, housing and urban development, they had to let us in. So white folks ran to the suburbs because part of the burden of being white is always looking like you're better than black folks. So they had to run away to live their own private life. And then guess what the black bourgeoisie did? Followed the white folks out to, because we love white folks. So they said if these Negroes love us this much, that no matter where we go, they're going to follow us, we might as well go to hell back home. And that's why when a lot of white people moved out in the 60s, they never sold their property. They just became landlords, but they never relinquished their control because they knew one day they were going to come back home. Listen, don't no white person want to sit in traffic for 90 minutes going to an Eagles game. Don't no white person want to sit in traffic for 2 hours going to a Sixers game. It is convenient to live Susquehanna Avenue. Yes. It is convenient to live on Girard Avenue. It is convenient to live on Allegheny Avenue. 3 stops from downtown, 8 stops from the sports complex. White folks is like, we paying all this money to live in the suburbs. And it's so inconvenient to get to the culture of Philadelphia and to the sports complex. So they said, why don't we swap? Right. So that's why Donald Trump put the Coon Baltimore, Housing and Urban Development.
Oh,
Ben Carson.
Ben Coon Carson. I called him that. I said it. You can't change it if you can't claim it. One of the things we got to stop doing is being afraid to be unapologetic about our reality. We are in a desperation state. This is a state of emergency. We ain't got time to be worried about nobody's feelings. I can give a what a Negro think about me. Shame the devil and tell the truth. Shame the devil and call it. We love you, Queen. You know we love you, Queen. We got the Queen in the building. We're going to love you anyway. See, part of being a black man, I got to put you on a pedestal even if you say don't do it.
That's right. No, I'm on a pedestal.
What we're going to do, we're going to take a break.
What's the difference between Barack Obama and Clarence Thomas? Nothing. And Ben Condoleezza? Nothing.
We're very concerned about what's happening in the streets. We're very concerned about in the street. You are out on the front line. You have thousands and thousands of fans on social media. Supporters.
I'm not an entertainer.
You have a platform that many of us in this room do not have. And what advice can you give? Because there are shootings and there are young people that are listening, that are watching tonight. We had a young brother that was from the Islamic community that was just killed, shot in the face up in Albany. I knew another young brother that was killed senselessly, murdered. Very good friend. I watched him grow up. I watched his family raise him. Never got in any trouble that I knew of. We just buried this young brother. We just literally buried him this past summer. So, what can we say?
So we know systematically with the economics and the politics of crime, we know that. When jobs are up, crime is down. When jobs are down, crime is up. But now you're saying, let's look at the black community. Our role in this. And I'll tell you what it is very emphatically. Black men have allowed the youth to break code in the community. I have never seen this. Black men, those of us 40 and over, 30s too, but more so 40 and over, because they clearly recognize us as the OGs. We have allowed our sons and nephews and cousins and next door neighbors to get so far out of hand with this violence that we now afraid of them. I want to be clear about something. As long as the youth know that the elders are scared of them, this won't stop. And I want to state this very, very decisively. Globally, Philly, wherever you at, because it's global, whatever you see in Philly, you see around the world. It's a Pan-African issue. But nonetheless, until black men take the streets back, it will always remain the Wild Wild West. We have to literally go to the streets in droves and say, brothers, it's a new day. Hand out a new paper. These are the new rules. It's a phone number. Somebody threaten you, call this number. Right. You know what I mean? Somebody, gang violence, you call this number. And we got brothers who ain't funded by white folks. White folks ain't got nothing to do with this. This is grassroots black men solving their own issues. And if we take the streets back, we can end this in 6 months.
Can we take
Yes, we can.
Can we as a people?
But here's the problem. Yes, we can. Okay. Here's the problem. You got 2 issues with taking the streets back. There's a lot of people who make money by pimping black pain in poverty projects. Right. You understand? Right. Black poverty is a $1 billion industry. Yes. If you solve the black on black crime, a lot of people going to be out of work. Yes. You know how many prisons will shut down if we stop the violence? You know how many probation officers would be out of jobs? How many halfway houses wouldn't exist? You know how many federal grant dollars would be discontinued if we stop this? Why you think when the Black Panther Party of the 60s intervened directly in the coke epidemic. Guess who they had to fight the most? The police. For stop drugs, the Panthers had to fight the cops because the job of the police is not to stop dealing, but to contain it so it doesn't go into neighborhoods where it's not wanted. So we can't jive ourselves on this. The white power structure is counting on the violence to continue because it justifies the marginalization.